tell you something about the research park and a few minutes about what we are doing. I had a very different kind of relationship with Navjyoti Singh. I did work with him on mathematics a bit, but on the other topics that you people have worked quite a bit, I've done relatively very little. For a short time, I've worked on Indian mathematics with M.D. Srinivas and Navjyoti Singh and all that. But as I pointed out, that our work here, I've been in IIT Madras and our work has been always in kind of modern science and technology, but something totally different from what the West does. And I think that has been in some manner a battle. What do? You try to do things more from Indian perspective. So you people may not know, but when we were young, we did not have telephones much in the country. And in fact, I personally waited for 8 years to get a telephone. And that kind of, and the whole country was kind of not having communications much. And that's the time we conceived of wireless in local loop. And I and my group defied all odds and said we will make wireless telephone systems and at a price 1/4 of the landline system and at a price about 1/10 of what was available in the West. And it was considered a foolish that something like this could not be achieved, but the Indian innovation and the innovation that came was largely from youngsters, and not youngsters from IIT, youngsters from all around. I'll say largely South India because that's where we lived, but also occasionally from outside. It is a large number of youngsters. We had about, at that time, 200 youngsters working with us. And they actually, if you guide them and tell them not to basically look at the West for everything, they come up with something truly outstanding. So that was one work that we had done way back. And that brought in telephony. And today, whether it's a telephone is a curse or a big gain, that's for you to debate. But basically, in India is connected for a change. This campus that you see is not a part of IIT Madras. This is an independent Section 8 company called IIT Madras Research Park. Section 8 is a non-profit company. I took the lead in building this up. I have been nominated by IIT Madras as a faculty in charge. But once you are nominated, unless they remove me, I am the person who will, I don't listen to anybody at IIT Madras. Our director or chairman has very little say or limited say. They can give suggestions, most welcome. Just like anybody from West also can give suggestion. But we decide for ourselves. What did we try to do? We actually took a decision that we want to try to develop or make products for India and do research and development for India. So this place is not government funded, by the way. We have spent about 500 crore rupees in building this. I do take some time out and just go around, walk up to the bridge. There are about close to 200 companies currently located out here, and probably another 100 to 150 more will come. And the only requirement is that if you're working here, you have to work with IIT Madras faculty or students, joint R&D. You can of course work with Anna University and still we will kind of count it in. But if you are not doing academia industry interface, you do not come out here. So basically we are doing lots of things which people are in awe because they did not think that India can actually do it. And we are sort of showing that what young talent in India can do, and we have been able to now get large amount of corporate sector also to work with us in building this research park. This is not a government organization, does not get any funds from government, apart from the initial small corpus that we got. And after that, we have pretty much run it like a independent organization. It earns money and puts that back into the organization. So this is one thing that is going on. It's something that has been built, which is unique. Something like this doesn't exist anywhere in the world. Recently, last week, the UK Minister of Science and Technology had come and a young man, he came, he saw the whole thing. He spent about 3-4 hours. He says, there is no question of anything like this anywhere in the world. And I think they were quite surprised. They kept on asking, where did we get an inspiration from? Did we get an inspiration from some other university or some other place? And we sort of said that we have zero cooperation with anybody else in the world except within India. So that apart, the specific work that we are doing, if you even get for a few minutes, you can walk in and get somebody to show you our solar work, which is there in the demo outside in this hall. There is a solar home. Now, what is interesting about it, many of you may have heard that the speech of Prime Minister that we have been able to connect every home in or every village. We have been able to provide electricity. The major part, the last part of providing electricity to the most difficult areas where electric wires could not go and be maintained was actually done by work done out here. It's a solar work, solar with DC power. DC. Most of us in our homes get AC power line. We have defied and said we will do solar and DC. We will not convert to AC. Actually, to our great surprise, we ourselves, when we started looking at it, the basic requirement was solar basically gives you DC. Do not convert to AC. You lose power. A battery storage stores only DC power. Do not convert AC to DC and DC to AC. The lights, LEDs are all DC. All electronics is DC. And even fans, which were earlier AC, if you make them DC fan, then it consumes about less than 40% of electricity. So we defied the world and sort of say, we will build totally DC. And the cost comes down by a factor of 3. The energy consumption comes down by a factor of 3. That basically a lot of losses go away. And you can see the home, somebody can show you, with a small panel of 125 watt, we are able to pretty much power a small home. And this is today done in about close to 50,000 homes around the country. And particularly in Manipur, Assam, Jammu and Kashmir, Rajasthan, deserts and things like that. So that's one work that we are doing. Again, the biggest difficulty that I continue to have, even after 4 years after deployment, is that anybody in the government today in Delhi asks us, but has anyone else done it? How can you do DC? But has anyone else done it? And this is one thing that I and Jyoti used to often talk about. The key thing is, has anyone else done it? Currently we are working on electric vehicles. If you had a little more time, I could have taken you around the campus. There's a pilot going on of electric 3-wheelers on the campus. Basically, the reason why we want to move to completely electric vehicles, first of all, it frees us from oil imports, which is the key problem. Number 2, pollution, it impacts. And we believe that we can the future is electric vehicle and we can get there very, very fast. The point is that people sort of say, okay, whatever everybody else in the world is doing, let's try to do it. The two things that stands out, one is around the world, India's affordability is very low. It buys vehicles, it buys 3-wheelers at very low cost. Even a 4-wheeler, it buys at 4 lakhs rupees, 3 lakhs rupees. Nobody in the world even knows that there can be a car which is 3 to 4 lakhs. They start with 10, 12 lakhs. Electric vehicles particularly start with 20 lakhs. And India has very little market. Above 10 lakhs, if you take all the vehicles, including 2-wheeler, 3-wheeler, 4-wheelers, 2% of the vehicles are above 10 lakhs. 98% are below, and many of them are 2-wheelers which are 30, 40, 50,000 rupees. So we put forward a proposition that we should focus on 98% of the vehicles. And we can convert into electrification of that in a very different manner. For example, one of the key innovations that we have come up is that we will use small battery because that will reduce cost. And we'll do battery swapping instead of battery charging. So as soon as you run out, you just drive to a place like a STD PCO meter. Every kilometer there will be a place where you can give your battery and take a new battery and just go on. Now, the question again kept on getting asked, and I'm a principal advisor to Piyush Goyal right now in Delhi for the last 1.5 years, worked with everybody. But finally everybody sort of says, well, let somebody else in the world try it. Has anyone else in the world does it? And I think this is the kind of lack of confidence that India has got into. that it can believe nothing it can do excellent on its own. And I strongly believe, working with PPST, working with Navjyoti, with M.T. Srinivas Krishnan and others over years, that it has a lot to do with our disconnect with our tradition. Because we don't start believing in ourselves. We believe that we are not good for innovation, we are not good to solve our problems. And therefore, the kind of confidence that goes away and we keep looking at the West. That's where the crux of the problem is. There are two streams of work. I strongly believe in two streams of work, and some of us differ also. One is that we really connect as much as possible with our tradition, work on that, try to show that how good it is, learn from that, utilize it in today's world. That's one kind of piece of work. Another piece of work is whatever our day-to-day problems are there, we need to use telephones, we need to use vehicles, whether it's a three-wheeler, two-wheeler or four-wheeler, or we need to use energy at homes, electricity at homes. We are not going to get into a situation where we can stop using that. I strongly feel that in all these disciplines, think differently, look at afresh from Indian people's affordability, large sections of people, and look at science and technology in that manner. Navjyoti and I have had lots of conversation. We always believe that's the right thing to do, and some of us have continued to do that, and to some extent some of the things that you can see here belongs to this. I last want to end by sort of saying that I personally believe that we may not have too much more working life left, but we are old as compared to what we were in 1980s when we started. But yet, to the extent that we can contribute, I like to see India have a fossil-free future. Fossil-free future. Essentially all energy coming from natural sources. I think our Indian tradition is very rich with that. It looked at nature, it prayed. That's how we were taught. Fortunately, in spite of everything else going away, in our childhood we were taught that nature is God. And I think that's what it gives, not the rest of the things. And I believe that if we can, India should become the first country in the world which becomes fossil free. And I think something like this is very much possible. Very difficult task, almost an impossible task, but I think we have to do impossible tasks before the West does for us to regain our confidence. Thank you, I just wanted to end that.